King Charles meets survivors of Manchester Synagogue attack, a royal visit that shook the nation. Welcome to Crown Chronicles, the home of royal insight, drama, and truth behind the palace gates. If you love keeping up with the most intriguing, heartfelt, and powerful moments of the world's royal families, then don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because today's story will move you deeply. This is a moment of humanity, empathy, and courage. King Charles meets survivors of the Manchester Synagogue attack. It was a chilly October morning in Manchester, a city that has known both immense strength and painful tragedy. The skies were heavy, the air calm but expectant. Crowds began to gather near the steps of the rebuilt Manchester Synagogue, still marked by scars, emotional and physical, after the horrifying attack that had shaken Britain to its core just months earlier. But this was no ordinary day. The king himself, Charles III, was coming, not as a monarch of pomp and ceremony, but as a man of compassion, a father, and a leader determined to bring healing where there had been unimaginable pain. When the royal motorcade rolled up, silence fell across the crowd. Cameras clicked, flags waved, but what stood out most was not grandeur, it was the solemn dignity of the moment. King Charles stepped out, dressed in a simple navy suit, the royal crest barely visible on his tie. There was no fanfare, no trumpets, only the quiet hum of respect. And as he approached the synagogue, the survivors waiting within stood ready to meet the man who, more than anyone else, had made it his mission to rebuild unity in a fractured time. The Manchester Synagogue attack had been one of the most shocking acts of violence in recent British history. The assault, carried out during a Sabbath service, had left several worshippers injured and the community shaken. It had not only been an attack on faith, but on peace itself, an assault on the idea that Britain could remain a beacon of tolerance in a divided world. The aftermath saw vigils, tears, and national soul-searching. And now, months later, King Charles's visit symbolized something far greater than a royal duty. It was a moment of collective healing, a reminder that no matter one's background, the British spirit endures. Inside the synagogue, the atmosphere was both heavy and hopeful. Survivors, some still visibly scarred, stood alongside community leaders, faith representatives, and local officials. King Charles greeted them one by one, clasping hands, looking each person in the eye with the calm intensity he's known for. "You've endured the unimaginable," he told one survivor, his voice low and deliberate. "But your strength, your resilience, is what defines the soul of this nation." It wasn't just words, it was personal. Those close to the royal family know that Charles has long held deep respect for interfaith dialogue and community unity. Since his days as Prince of Wales, he has been a vocal supporter of Jewish communities across the UK, often attending events that promote understanding between religions. And now, as king, that commitment has only deepened. This visit wasn't arranged for publicity, it was a reflection of a man who truly believes in the power of compassion over condemnation. For the survivors, his presence was more than symbolic. One elderly survivor, Miriam, who had been attending the synagogue that tragic morning, said with tears in her eyes, "The king's visit feels like a balm to the wound. It tells us that we're not forgotten, that our pain matters." The king listened, not interrupting, not performing, simply listening. That, perhaps, was what moved so many who witnessed it. What makes this moment so poignant is how it ties into the broader transformation of the British monarchy under Charles III. Unlike the late Queen Elizabeth II, who reigned with quiet distance, Charles's reign has been one of connection, of stepping directly into the heart of Britain's challenges. From supporting flood victims in the north to meeting families affected by the cost of living crisis, he has shown a desire to engage with the real, often uncomfortable, issues that affect his people. But this visit, this emotional, soul-stirring meeting in Manchester, stood apart. It wasn't just about a tragedy, it was about unity. It was about reaffirming the message that Britain, though divided in many ways, remains one nation under a shared moral compass. And when King Charles stood before the gathered crowd at the end of the private meeting, his short but powerful speech brought the entire city to a standstill. "My friends," he began, pausing as flashes of cameras caught his solemn face, "an attack on one community is an attack on all of us. In this sacred place, where peace was once shattered, I stand with you to say, hate will never win. Faith, courage, and compassion, these are the pillars that will rebuild not just walls, but hearts. Those words echoed through the hall. Survivors wept quietly. Religious leaders from different backgrounds nodded in agreement. And as Charles lit a memorial candle for the victims, a hush descended that seemed to unite everyone present. It was a moment of profound symbolism, the monarch's hand steady as the small flame flickered to life, representing light out of darkness. Beyond the emotional gravity, there was also a deeply political undertone. The king's visit came amid growing debates over hate crimes and religious safety across the UK. His appearance, though non-political by tradition, sent a clear moral message. The monarchy, often criticized for being outdated or disconnected, was once again proving its timeless relevance. Through empathy, not authority, news of the visit spread rapidly across social media. Clips of the king's meeting flooded TikTok and Instagram, where younger generations, often detached from royal affairs, expressed admiration for his sincerity. One viral comment read, "For once, this doesn't feel like royal PR. This feels human." And that's the truth, the monarchy, for all its pomp and history, feels more human now under Charles's touch. Even Prince William and Princess Catherine reportedly sent private messages of support to the survivors, reinforcing the family's unity in standing against hate. Royal insiders revealed that the king had personally requested updates on the victims' recoveries in the weeks leading up to the visit. Behind palace doors, this was not treated as an event, but as a mission, and perhaps that's the most remarkable part of this story. The monarchy, often seen as distant from the realities of modern life, showed that it could still be a force for compassion in a world consumed by division. Charles's visit wasn't about politics or image, it was about legacy. About reminding Britain that its crown, though glittering, rests upon the foundation of service. When the visit concluded, the king stepped outside once more to meet the waiting crowd. The cold air hit his face, and for a moment, he smiled, a soft, tired, but genuine smile. A small child, no more than 8, handed him a handmade card covered in stars and the words, "Thank you for caring." The king bent down, accepted it, and said, "I care very deeply." The crowd erupted in applause, not the jubilant cheers of celebration, but the heartfelt claps of gratitude. People waved flags, some even wept. As he departed, the sun broke through the clouds, casting light on the synagogue's restored windows. It felt symbolic, as if hope itself had returned to Manchester that day. Later, royal sources confirmed that the king was deeply moved by what he'd seen and heard. Back at Buckingham Palace, he reportedly spent the evening reflecting with Queen Camilla on how best to support community safety initiatives moving forward. Camilla, who has long been active in anti-domestic violence campaigns, is said to be helping coordinate follow-up visits and funding for trauma counseling in affected areas. This was not a one-day gesture. It was the beginning of a new royal commitment to ensuring that no community feels isolated in the face of hate. And in that mission, King Charles has found his defining purpose as monarch, not just to rule, but to heal. So as the lights of Manchester twinkled that evening and news anchors replayed clips of the king's visit across the world, one thing was clear: this was more than a royal appearance, it was a moment of history. A meeting of heart and crown, and that, dear viewers, is what makes the monarchy enduring, not its castles or ceremonies, but its ability to embody hope when the nation needs it most. Thank you for watching Crown Chronicles, where royal truth meets human story. If today's tale of courage, unity, and compassion touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Because stories like these remind us why, even in the hardest times, humanity still shines through the crown.